When we focus on learner, we should study all the positive and negative aspects of the learner. After encountering the problems of the methods of teaching, other analysts have found that it is better to deal with the learner himself rather than the methods of teaching. It is better to analyze the errors that the learners commit in order to set a particular or special programs in teaching learners, in order to target the weak points, the points that make the learning process negative according to particular learners. So the focus has shifted from the teacher, textbook and methods to the learner and the acquisition process. Errors were seen negatively before. I mean, when dealing with errors, they were dealt with as a negative perspective. However, according to the focus on the learner, they're seen as a natural part of the learning process. Some errors may be due to transferring from the source language into the second language. Things that are called cross-linguistic influence. So what is a transfer? Transfer means using sounds, expressions or structures from the first language when performing in the second language. And by nature, there are two types of transfer: positive transfer and negative transfer. Positive transfer means when the learner benefits from the first language rule in the second language rule. So, if I have a rule in my mother tongue language, let's say if I have a rule in Arabic, which is my mother tongue, and I can use this rule in the target language that I am in the process of learning. Then if the same rule exists in the target language, which is the English language, then the transfer here is positive, because there is nothing wrong with what I have used or I have adopted from my own native language and applied to the target language that I am learning. However, as we know that languages differ widely, a matter which arises what is called negative transfer or interference, language interference. This means that using the rule of the second language in the using the rule of the first language or the native language or the mother tongue language in the second language is not a good thing, which means that using a native language rule in the second language or the target language rule, which does not exist in the second language. A rule exists in the native language but not or does not exist in the second language. Here we will encounter what is called negative transfer. Now, it is not only transfer, whether positive or negative, that the learner should take care of. It is the motivation which is a factor that helps students learn. There are two types of motivation: instrumental motivation and integrative motivation. As for the instrumental motivation, it is the way of learning a language in order to achieve another goal, such as completing a school graduation requirement or being able to read scientific publications, but not really for social purposes. This is called instrumental motivation. Sometimes we are motivated to use the language for special purposes, which are not for social practices or purposes. While integrative motivation is the technique of wanting to learn the same for social purposes. For example, if you fall in love with a girl who cannot speak your mother tongue language, or you cannot speak her mother tongue language, so you will do your best to learn her language so that you can communicate with her easily. This is called integrative motivation. Now, communicative competence. Learning a language in terms of linguistic structures, phonology, morphology, syntax, semantics. This process of learning all these pure linguistic subfields is not enough to produce a language. There is what is called communicative competence, the general ability to use language accurately, appropriately, and flexibly. Accurately, appropriately, and flexibly. In this lecture, we can mention three types of competence, which are as follows: grammatical competence, sociolinguistic competence, and strategic competence. Regarding grammatical competence, it is concerned with the accurate use of words and structures. This alone is not enough to be able to use the second language. Sociolinguistic competence is the ability to use appropriate language. Now, if we take an example, can I have some water? It will be better than give me some water, an order. This utterance is used according to social context. Now, there are some social contexts in which give me some water, this order, is appropriate. When you order your little brother, but you cannot order a little a person whom you do not have power. You should say, please, give me some water, or can I have some water, please? Now, the third one is strategic competence, which is the ability to organize a message effectively and to compensate via strategies for any difficulties, which is the main core of pragmatics and pragmatic principles. Now, when being pragmatic, then we use the grammatical competence and sociolinguistic competence along with other types of competence to serve our message, to convey our message as effective as possible. Now, in the second language use, learners inevitably experience moments when they have trouble saying something, what to do. Some people stop talking a bad idea. Some people use other ways to express themselves using a communication strategy, which means a good idea. How? By using synonyms to substitute for words the speaker cannot recall or has not yet learned. Example: the things that horses wear under their feet, instead of saying horseshoes. This way, a speaker can use vocabulary they know in order to describe a word they do not know. So this is a scratching of the surface account regarding second language learning and or acquisition. That's all for me. Thank you very much for your attendance and listening. Next time we will start with another lecture in linguistics, in general linguistics. Thank you very much and goodbye.